another episode of The Ism for everybody on YouTube. Everybody else has already got their introduction. All right. And also, if you like the music, you want to hear more? I'll upload that shit at some point. We'll figure out how to do that. I don't know. YouTube wanted to fuck around. They wouldn't let me upload it to my channel. I got to figure out a workaround for that. But yes, that is my music. And eventually I'll start posting more of that stuff. So if you want to hear it, if you want to add it to your playlist, freestyle over it, it is available. It is available. I just need to fucking upload that shit. Now, to begin, accelerationism. Does anybody know anything about accelerationism? Before we get into it, any of you guys know what accelerationism is? You guys, any of y'all can think of a definition off the top of your head? Hmm? Nobody? Nobody? No, I see something here. It's very interesting. Allow me to share. So, the first thing I see when I see accelerationism, when we search it here on the Googles, obviously is Wikipedia and that AI overview bullshit. We don't care about that. Yeah, fuck the AI overview. The first thing we see here is Wikipedia, obviously. But I think the most interesting thing to me here is what the Anti-Defamation League says about accelerationism. It's very interesting. I saw something about extremists. Let's check this out. Oh man, they trying to sell me shit. Ugh. I hate the way they have this site set up. Ew, it's disgusting. What is this sidebar? This is just visually disgusting. Here, let me just have to drag this over a little bit. Let me I just fucking hate this. Ugh. Man. Who designed this website? It's just me. Am I being too mean? Like, I hate this fucking UI. What is this? Let me just. This is gonna bother the fuck out of me if I don't. I'm gonna have to move it back later. Anyway, it says accelerationism is an ideology with some segments of the white supremacist movement. Oh man, here we go. We're gonna get an actual definition later, but I thought this was interesting. So this is from the Center on Extremism. This is funny. So within some segments of the white supremacist movement, like I guess, supposedly, I mean, I'm sure it's within some segments of a lot of movements. You can hold like adjacent views, whatever, that promotes violent actions and sabotage as a means to accelerate the perceived inevitable collapse of society, allowing followers to establish a white ethno-state in the aftermath. Wow. Like, now, I don't think this really has anything to do with accelerationism. Like, basically what they're writing about here is they're basically saying, oh, well, accelerationism is an ideology that some white supremacists have. This could apply to something else too, but this is funny. So let's look at the white supremacist accelerationism. The modern iteration of white supremacist accelerationism gained traction in extremist spaces in the 2010s following the revival of neo-Nazi James Mason's siege essays from the 1990s. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know what these essays are. When I hear accelerationism, I actually don't even think extremism. Like, if you take kind of like their definition here, you know, promotes violent actions and sabotage as a mean to accelerate the perceived inevitable collapse of society. Sounds like what they're doing in the Promised Land. Exactly, right. There are some people. There was actually one video that I had on accelerationism that was specifically talking about what rich people are doing and why it seems like they're actively trying to destroy the world. Might check that one out in a sec. Because you're right. You're onto something there, right? 14. The thing about this, though, is that if you take promoting violent actions and sabotage as the mean to accelerate the perceived inevitable collapse of society, this would make somebody like the Unabomber the white supremacist too? Or would he just be an extremist as far as accelerationism is concerned? Because, again, generally speaking, I don't think that you necessarily have to promote these things. But again, we're going to get to the actual definition a little bit later, right? This is just very interesting to me. I thought this was very interesting. White supremacist accelerationism has inspired multiple terrorist plots and attacks in countries around the world, with most of them targeting Jews, Muslims, immigrants, people of color, and the LGBTQ community. I'm not surprised that they're saying that. I mean, this is the ADL, right? Shout out to our greatest allies. I don't know. This is all very strange to me. Accelerationist adherents generate online propaganda that venerates past far-right killers and encourages people to emulate them, as well as manuals and other materials designed to provide guidance on targets and tactics. Wow, like they're talking about like full-on terrorism. Now again, I don't think that accelerationism really has to be this. And it looks like they have a little bit more down here. But it looks like it's just a little bit more. I see the word white supremacist again. I see white ethno-nationalist again. I see neo-Nazi again. I see alt-right extremist again. Islamophobia. Yeah, we're just I'm sorry, I'm not gonna be able to read this. We got enough of that shit. We got enough of that shit. Like, if you were really trying to find out what something was, you went to the Anti-Defamation League to get your definition, and just shame on you. That's all I have to say. Okay, then don't go to them for anything except trying to find out what the leftists are talking about.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
That's the only use you're really gonna get out of that. Because that ain't nothing but some bullshit. Anyway, let's just go straight to Wikipedia, right? I have a feeling that Wikipedia might do something similar, but they might be a little bit more accurate. Let's check this out, right? Accelerationism is a range of ideologies. There we go. Wikipedia already, more accurate, right? You can have whatever issues you have with Wikipedia, but generally speaking, depending on what topic you're looking up, right? They're gonna give you multiple sides to stuff, Oh yeah, I gotta fix this now because we're not on that shitty ass site with that shitty ass design.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Yeah, the ADL, they fucking up on multiple levels. Like you can't even get the site design right. Anyway, now many people do connect accelerationism with transhumanism. As you can see on Wikipedia, right on the side here, it doesn't even have accelerationism in the picture area. Like, you look at accelerationism at the top of the page, right? I don't know if y'all can see accelerationism at the top of the page, right? Even y'all can't see the top of the page here. You can see it at the top of the article, though, right? But on the side here, it says transhumanism. Like, these are not the same thing. But they do tend to be connected. Let's say they tend to be connected. Like it just even with how it started here, say it's a range of ideologies. It can very often be connected to transhumanism because a lot of those people, they want to see the world look a certain way. And as you learn more about accelerationism, it's easier to make the world look that way and transition to things like transhumanism and introduce things like this once you've done it, certain things, right? I wouldn't say the ADL was entirely wrong on some of the concepts, but they were talking about like a niche part of accelerationism. I did think it was worth covering for a second, though. All right. But accelerationism is a range of ideologies that call for the use of capitalism associated processes to create radical social transformations. Broadly, accelerationism engages with anti-humanism as well as post-humanism. Now, we could get into these. I don't want to get too deep into them, but let's just do like the simple definition they give you here, right? So you know what anti-humanism is, right? Anti-humanism is a theory that is critical of traditional humanism and its traditional ideas about humanity and the human condition. Central to anti-humanism is the view that philosophical oh God, this is gonna get too deep. It's gonna get too deep. Basically, if you know what humanism is, it's essentially like a secular religion. At some point, we are going to do a breakdown of humanism, but let's put it like it's a secular religion. Typically, atheists believe in it, and they have like certain tenets, right? As far as like how people should treat each other and what the human condition is. Basically, like any other religion, but it's secular. You could compare it somewhat to Buddhism, but it's like a more modern thing. And then post-humanism or anti-humanism is obviously against that, right? Like it's anti-humanism, and post-humanism is like it kind of similar. I don't know if they have a good enough definition here. Yeah, we're gonna leave it alone for now. But let's just finish this. You don't need to know what they mean. If you know what they mean, good for you. It'll be a little too much for us to get into today. Like I said, we're going to have to get to our analysis and get through it. So don't want to take too much time on this. Broadly, accelerationism engages with anti-humanism as well as post-humanism and seeks to accelerate desired tendencies within capitalism at the expense of negative ones. Though variants differ greatly on which tendencies and if this will lead beyond capitalism or further into it. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Wikipedia's definition is getting a little bit too into the weeds. So we're going to have to step back from Wikipedia. All right. We're going to have to find something a little bit more, concise. Something that's a little easier to digest. Because otherwise, I'm going to have to start explaining a bunch of other isms. And that's just not what we plan on doing.
Somebody's going to have to tell the truth, and I'm going to tell it.
Okay. So we're going to go. Let's see if the Encyclopedia Britannica can explain it a little simpler. All right. A lot of people do say, as you can see here and here, that the ideas of Karl Marx have been cited as the origin of accelerationism. Okay. So a lot of people think that, somebody like essentially critical theory and some of these other approaches that Marx had were kind of what led to accelerationism at the end of the day. Now, I do think that this Encyclopedia Britannica has a better definition for us. Accelerationism in political and social theory, a class of ideologies that call for a drastic increase in an expansion of capitalistic growth and technological development to hasten an inevitable collapse of the status quo. That's the most important part there, right? The idea of accelerationism, right, is to essentially accelerate the collapse of society.
Somebody's going to have to tell the truth, and I'm going to tell it.
Or at least the status quo, right? So that we can bring in a new status quo.
Somebody's going to have to tell the truth, and I'm going to tell it.
Now, many would probably, eyes and shit, low key, right? Many would probably refer to me as an accelerationist, right? And They're probably right.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I'm of the belief that things tend to get worse before they get better. And because they do, sometimes, I mean, I'm not necessarily against the idea of just either letting things get worse or pushing them to the extent that we need them to get to in order for things to break down so that we can build it back up again. Right? Kind of like before we instead of fixing the house, right? There's an analogy. We're just gonna demolish this shit and rebuild it.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
That's kind of basically what most accelerationists are thinking, right? We're gonna need to tear all this shit down and build it back up from the ground up. Right? Now you get a little deeper into this, but we mostly got what we need. But let's check this. What else is here? I don't know if you guys are familiar with Nick Land, but this is apparently one of the most influential accelerationist thinkers. As it says here, British theorist Nick Land, an influential accelerationist thinker, describes the thrust of acceleration in a quick and dirty introduction to accelerationism. So there's a book for you. Or I'm not even sure if it's a book. Let's see here. Is it an essay or a book? We could check out a little bit of it, although it might take a little bit of time. But I'll just drop that here in the chat for you. You guys can add it to your reading list. I'm gonna read up a little bit more about these the theory itself. Right? The deep problem of acceleration. This is a quote from him. The deep problem of acceleration is transcendental. It describes an absolute horizon and one that is closing in. Thinking takes time, and accelerationism suggests we're running out of time to think that through if we haven't already, right? So, like, basically, he's saying, like, we ain't really got time to, like, really try to figure out a real solution to fix this shit. Like, shit is getting bad fast. And we probably just need to just let it fucking collapse and just fucking rebuild instead of trying to fucking fix it, low-key is what I'm saying. At least that's what I get from it. Like I said, instead of trying to, figure out how we're going to fix this house, might be faster, might be even easier, might not be as pleasant to just tear that bitch down and rebuild it.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Might be, right? Accelerationism comprises a constellation of positions. Now, I don't like them saying that because it now it looks like it's about to get complicated. It comprises a constellation of positions, including right and left wing perspectives that often differ regarding the nature of Nick Land, the philosopher, absolute horizon, what ought to follow it, and how best to bring it about. Right. So it's basically just methods. And then, like, once we get to this point, what happens after, right? What exactly is that point? Like, what can we say we've actually gotten to the point where things have, like, collapsed, right? But obviously, I'm not an expert on this. I'm not an expert on this at all in any way whatsoever. But, I mean, there are other people, who claim to know things and they do video essays and all this other shit. You know what I mean?
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
So, I mean, let's see what one of them has to say. I'm willing to learn. So let's check out what these guys have to say. All right, let's just check it out real quick. Is this the one? I don't think this is the. We might check this one out later. We'll do this one for now. All right. Make sure the audio is good. Everybody hear it? Everybody hears the video. Oh, shit. Oh, here. All right. There we go. Actually, here, let's do this real quick. Because YouTube and Brave like to glitch out and shit. Wait, is it doing it already? I I think it's doing it already. See. Give me 1 second. Brave been buggy today. Buggy as fuck. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I don't know why I should be doing it. Anyway. Yeah, just keep that constant. I hate that everything's automatically on auto, switching between different resolutions. All right.
This is Plastic Pills, and welcome to Cooking.
Can we hear? Y'all hear that? Give me a 1 in the chat if y'all can hear that. Make it show. All right.
Cooking in capitalism.
Cooking in capitalism.
This is the end of capitalism right here. Today, we're trying a whole new recipe. It's called Accelerationism, fresh out of the box. Do you feel like politics has failed to be relevant in addressing the crises of our age? Do you think that capitalism will inevitably destroy human life on Earth, but you're not at all that interested in unironically calling people comrade or joining a picket line over the weekend? Then
Wait, that sounds like me. Doesn't that sound like? I think that sounds like me. Wait, hold on. Wait, y'all hear what you just said?
Do you feel like politics has failed to be relevant in addressing the crises of our age? Do you think that capitalism will inevitably destroy human life on Earth, but you're not at all that interested in unironically calling people comrade or joining a picket line over the weekend? Then I suggest you try this recipe at home. It's easy because you
it's just like that sounds like me.
only have to give your mental assent. You don't have to do anything except talk about it. Today's politics is beset by an inability to generate the new ideas.
So, the Accelerate Manifesto. Interesting.
And modes of organization necessary. Today's politics is beset by an inability to generate the new ideas and modes of organization necessary to transform our societies to confront and resolve the coming annihilations.
That sounds about right.
While crisis gathers force and speed, politics withers and retreats. In this paralysis of the political imaginary, the future has been canceled. This idea of a future being canceled.
Damn, we canceling the future now? I thought we was just canceling like internet influencers and shit. Like,
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I didn't know we was canceling the future and shit. Like, we started, it just
is central to acceleration. The recipe for accelerationism is easy. Just take 1 part cyberpunk fiction, 1 part manic depressive disorder,
1 part cyberpunk fiction. This is what we were talking about when we said it is very often connected to transhumanism, right? Because they kind of want things to collapse to get to a certain point where some of these technocrats or whatever could come in and give us all this technology and stuff that'll quote unquote solve all our problems. And 1 part cyberpunk to the bowl. I like this. I like the way he put this together, like cooking up accelerationism. This is pretty nice. Add the manic depressive. Yeah, I might be manic depressive.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
You know, sometimes I'd be at mad energy, I'd be mad happy and shit, and some days I just be like, man, leave me the fuck alone. Like,
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Get out of my face, nigga. I hate wanna hear you niggas talking about politics. Shut the fuck up, nigga. Shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up.
1 part posthumanism or transhumanism, take your pick, and 1 part you just don't give a f anymore.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, no, this is that what Professor Xavier put in the lab? Was that the concoction he used to make niggas like me? Or
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Bro, but I'm saying like like it'd be whole days and like whole weeks at a time. I'd just be like, bro, I don't feel like doing shit. Out of this shit. I was like, one of the reasons I've been trying to stream consistently is because like it'd be helping me like kind of pull myself out of that mood. Like I just force myself to do it. You know how? Wait, y'all saw the video, right? We showed y'all. Hold up. Sorry, I got to do this again. Hold up. Where'd that shit go?
We asked 50 black.
Oh, no, wrong one. Hold up. You gotta do this over time. Accelerationism turned into nihilism real quick. Well, that's the thing. Accelerationism and nihilism technically aren't that different. In fact, a lot of nihilists are probably going to be accelerationists as well. The thing is, it can be connected to a lot of things because it's more of like an ideology of it's more of like a method than it is like an ideology. It's like you might have a particular ideology. You know how they like to talk about how they were talking about on the ADL, that white supremacists have like segments that have accelerationist viewpoints. It's because ultimately they want to reach a specific goal, right? They actually want a specific goal that isn't necessarily nihilist, but their way of achieving that goal is through accelerationism, right? So it's like you can hold both at the same time. I would say that somebody who's a nihilist is probably more likely to be an accelerationist, though, just because obviously they don't really give a fuck about anything, right? Right? Nothing fucking matters, right? But actually, now that I think about it, if nothing really matters, right? If you're really like a true nihilist, not to do it, no true Scotsman or anything, but if you're a true nihilist, you probably won't be an accelerationist, depending on how you look at it, because you don't actually give a fuck enough to be like supporting accelerationism. Like, what I mean?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
So there's a little bit more to it, but it's definitely similar to nihilism. But sometimes, even when you don't want to do shit, even when you don't give a fuck, you just gotta do it anyway. You know what I mean? Like,
but that's what it takes to win this game. So get up and say, I do it sad, I do it mad, I do it glad, I do it stressed, I do it depressed, I do it depressed.
You gotta do it anyway.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Sorry, I had to do that. I gotta put that song on my playlist. That's a song you gotta put on like your fucking alarm in the morning. You know what I mean? Like, fucking eyes like shut. You got fucking eye boogers and shit. You're trying to open your shit like, oh man, I don't want to get up. I don't want to get out of bed. And your alarm turn on like, I do it anyway. Fuck it. I do it anyway, nigga.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I'm gonna have to make that shit my wake up alarm. I gotta download that song. Anyway.
But you kind of secretly do. Just throw them in the pot and stir.
You see,
Anymore.
that's the difference
Posthumanism
between accelerationism and nihilism. You hear what he said right there?
Transhumanism, take your pick. And one part you just don't give a anymore, but you kind of secretly do. Just throw.
Yeah, one part you don't give a fuck anymore, but you kind of secretly do.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
That's why I always have to like turn off, you know what I mean? Because I'll be sitting here like really like upset about shit, like because I care too much about people. Like I care too much about other people, I guess. Like I actually care about people doing well and living fulfilling lives and shit. That makes me feel good. It makes me happy to see other people happy. So I think it's important, but sometimes you gotta push that away. You got you know what I mean? You gotta control it. Not everything is your concern. And if you care too much, like, this world will fuck you up.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
World will fuck you up. So sometimes I have to turn it off. I just have to flip the switch. And unfortunately, it's kind of like dissociating. Like it's just They say it's not healthy to do that, but I mean, sometimes you might have to dissociate. Sometimes you got to dissociate to protect yourself. I'm just saying.
Throw them in the pot and stir. Right-wing politics is as charming as an eel with genital warts. And leftist politics is a lot of work. Lots of the time it gets overly self-important. It devolves into canceling people on the internet. Meanwhile,
okay, this guy's pretty base. All right, shout out to him. When he started with the right, I was like, is he just about to talk about the right? Is he left? I was like, no, okay. We shooting down the middle.
Our species is microwaving itself, and anyone with the power to do anything is not going to do anything about it because they're in on the take.
Yep.
So yes, I am going to drink out of a plastic straw because all this ends in a cataclysmic wasteland anyway. I'm going to kill a dolphin.
Yeah, and that is the take, right? Like, are we really even about to stop it? We might as well just accelerate. We might as well just fuck it, right?
And I am going to,
because once we get there, we can figure it out then.
Use this plastic straw, even though Starbucks made this cup, so I don't need a straw anymore. But guess what? I took one anyway. If you were
damn, he ignorant as fuck. That is low-key accelerationism in a nutshell, though. It's like, yeah, we're just gonna fuck it. Let's just let it come faster. Fuck it. What's the point in slowing it down, nigga? Fucking, we not about to fix this shit anyway. You might as well just let it fall apart and then fix it.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Let this shit fall apart.
Feeling any of these thoughts, do not panic. You are experiencing symptoms of tensions between neoliberal democracy and late capitalism. It's actually very, very normal.
Yep.
Okay. Although well-meaning people will eagerly tell you that this can all be fixed with a few policy changes and maybe some fresh old faces, we have already spent a long
That was funny.
long time imagining how this ends. Here's what it looks like lately.
This is the world.
Late stage capitalism. Oh yeah. Yeah, the Matrix. The Matrix is a good reference to use. Yeah, Skynet, or actually, not Skynet. Sorry, that was Terminator. My bad.
Here's a dried out husk of a planet where our
That Mad Max.
descendants fight for survival against viruses we accidentally unleashed, weapons that got into the wrong hands, but mostly capitalism
That looked like Fallout to me.
just ran its natural course. For the
Is that the capital wasteland?
most part, we don't believe in Star Trek futures anymore. That's
What's
a
up,
future
Josh?
of working together, where currency is abolished, and where we have robot friends.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool, actually.
Capitalism just ran its natural course. For the most part, we don't believe in Star Trek futures anymore. That's a future of working together, where currency is abolished.
That's true, yeah. I don't think most of us believe in Star Trek futures anymore. I think the majority of us believe that we're going to end up in a dystopian hellhole.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Or at least the majority of society. Yeah, cyberpunk future, yeah. That's why he said mix in a little bit of cyberpunk, right? Because that's where we expect a lot of this to end, right? Like capitalism essentially reaches its logical endpoint.
Abolished, and where we have robot friends.
That action injured you and saved me. I will not forget it. You're a wise man, my friend. Not yet, sir. But with your help, I am learning.
What season of Star Trek is that from? I've only watched like some of the first season.
Future has been canceled.
Damn, we canceled the future again. Damn, like we canceling the futures? Damn, why can't we have that one? Like, honestly, I'm not very in. Yeah, they do drop gems in Star Trek, but you talking about in the current season or something, or in this season? Yeah, I was never the biggest fan of Star Trek, but once I started watching it, I ain't gonna lie, shit kind of fire. Like, it's just
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
it's kind of fire. I think I had a Paramount Plus subscription for a little bit, and I started watching Star Trek on there because they had all of the Star Trek shit on Paramount Plus. I hadn't even got it for that. I think I got it for South Park. Yeah, I was thoroughly impressed. And it's the kind of thing you can just turn on and let play in the background and shit. But yeah, it was pretty good. That being said, though, I'm not like eager to live in a Star Trek-ish future. Like, it's just not. I don't really see that as being desirable, I guess. I don't know. Sue me.
Now we imagine dystopian streets, lands of garbage, lands of monkeys, or landscapes of not much of anything at all.
Lands of monkeys. What, like lands of monkeys? Like Planet of the Apes?
These are, all in their own way, accelerationist futures. So it doesn't really matter whether you use
Are they? I mean, I guess.
a plastic
More
straw or
dystopian.
not and some dolphin chokes on it. Is it worth it to plant a tree? 1,000,000 trees. The accelerate in accelerationism is about allowing capitalism to run its course and see what happens after, or see what's available to happen after. Accelerationism is closely associated.
That you can see the Avatar future happening? You mean like the Navi people and shit? Maybe. That would still be assuming there's like aliens and shit though. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'll tell you one thing though. I was talking about this the other day. If some of the flat earth theories are true, we ain't got no need for aliens.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
We don't have no need for aliens. We probably got a bunch of creatures and all types of fucking other entities on this planet that we aren't even aware of.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Beyond the ice wall.
Associated with both posthumanism and transhumanism, the former of which was the topic of a previous video.
So they talked about this in the video too. Maybe we'll check out this video when we go over transhumanism or humanism, posthumanism, transhumanism. There's a lot. That's why when we were reading that, I had to just skip over it like that. That's a lot. That's a lot. But I think when we do an episode on humanism, we'll probably check out all of these different types of humanism and shit. Especially transhumanism.
Transhumanism is this idea that humans can physically augment their bodies, brains, and even genes to become smarter, to live longer, and to have a more enjoyable life. And it's not only augmentation with, prosthetic limbs or laser eyes, but also the modification of our genes using things like CRISPR, for example. Transhumanism believes that we can use these artificial technologies to propel humanity as a species into a new stage of evolution. Hopefully we don't get left behind in the process. There are a variety of names associated with acceleration, including Marx, Nietzsche, Deleuze, and Guattari, Paul Virilio.
So this is one of the reasons why you said it sounded like nihilism, right? Now, obviously Marx, right? Because it's technically like a critical theory, right? It's like a form of critical theory, right? And in Nietzsche, obviously we know him as like one of the people who kind of coined, nihilism, and was one of the foremost philosophers that were influential, or one of the most influential philosophers that talked about nihilism. And I don't know who the fuck this other guy is. I don't know who these other guys are.
Nick Land, and Mark Fisher. Now,
Nick Land.
A few of these are what
Mark
we call precursors, and some are theorists of the post-human. I mentioned them before. And these are those that fit into acceleration.
Because I think Nietzsche was post-humanist.
Proper. I won't elaborate on all of these thinkers in detail now, but their names will probably...
Yeah, there's no need to do that.
There is no...
You said Warhammer is a transhuman dystopian future? I have not played through Warhammer yet. I actually own some of them, but I haven't played them yet. But yeah, that sounds about right. It actually doesn't seem that much different than Star Trek, actually. Right? If I'm not mistaken. I know it's definitely like a bunch of different, like, planets and different cultures on planets and shit.
Perfect agreement here. But there is a common thread in that modern state-sponsored capitalism is seen as perverse, and that contemporary left-wing politics is naive, out of date, and powerless to deal with modern crises. And finally, that new imaginative narratives and conceptual maps need to be drawn. And these are probably more important now than they have ever.
Yeah, we do. And the thing I would agree with the most, I haven't played Mass Effect. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. I hate the way it's played for the most part. But the thing I agree with the most here is the future must be imagined anew, but realistically. Yeah, we have to be realistic about what the future could look like. A lot of people have all these like ideas and ways that they would like things to look and all these things they think we should do. But it's like, ultimately, what do you actually think the future is going to look like based on what we see now? Like, you got to be realistic about it. But yeah, the reason I haven't played Mass Effect is because I played Dragon Age. I know they're made the same people made them. It's just like, that's like a futuristic version. But there's some of the gameplay I just don't like. It's like, really, it takes a little too long. I like more like hack and slash. Like to have more control over my character. I don't want to have to wait for certain stuff to activate and shit. It's really annoying. It's the same reason that I have Knights of the Fallen Order, the Star Wars game made by the same people, made the same way, and still haven't played that shit.
Ever been. Benjamin Noyes was sort of the first
But I played both of the Dragon Ages.
guy to give a definition to accelerationism. And he wrote that accelerationists replied to Marx's contention that the real barrier of capitalist production is capital itself, by arguing that
that is true. Yes.
we must crash through this barrier by turning capitalism against itself.
Now that is an interesting take.
The accelerate in accelerationism is allowing capitalism to destroy itself. The gist is this. Global capitalism is robust and too strong to halt with revolution. So class revolt is, sorry, not going to happen. Besides, capitalist economies have also developed some useful stuff that we can use, most especially in terms
a lot of people love the inventions that capitalism has given us. Some of us are like,
in terms of technological developments. We could look at
I do like this computer.
social media as a way to organize, rate, and communicate, or crowdfunding platforms, or blockchain, or modifying our genes.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of capitalism. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I prefer it to probably socialism, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of capitalism.
This tech can
I always say I like barter and trade. I like old school barter and trade. That's just how I am.
be useful, and maybe we can put it to an end that would benefit humanity. Pretty much, whatever you believe, there is no stopping the capitalist train. And we can only really make a new world out of what is left. So, what is that world
This is kind of where I am. This is kind of where I am with it, right?
gonna look like?
Is that a high-tech pyramid? All right, I might be here for this. I'm just saying. Is that what Hotepistan is gonna look like? I might be here for that.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I might be here for it.
Accelerationism is a political philosophy. Sort of. A political answer.
Kind of. Yeah, it's not political necessarily, but more of a philosophical position.
Philosophy. There are a few variants or flavors, both right-wing and left-wing, but both claim that they are just being realistic about what the world is.
Yep.
By
That's what my main goal is, usually just to be realistic,
every
right?
measure, including urbanization, energy use, ocean acidification, global warming, tropical forest loss, every single trend is accelerating. This is even called the Great Acceleration. It figures as the instantiation of the Anthropocene, a new...
The Anthropocene, I don't know what that word is. Never heard that word before. I know when I see anthro, it got something to do with humans, right? It's like, is he gonna give us the definition, or I gotta look this shit up? What's the Anthropocene? Anthropocene. An unofficial but widely used term describing the current geological time period in which human activity has become the primary driver of planetary, environmental, and climate change. It marks humanity's transformation into a dominant force shaping Earth's systems. Okay. I have heard this before. I've definitely heard this before. I mean, obviously, right? I mean, like I said, I would be considered an accelerationist, technically.
Geological epoch. The central question is this. If the biosphere doesn't entirely collapse, and we don't all die, could new social and political systems be arranged after capitalism? Maybe new politics will be possible.
They definitely can. And as somebody who's also what one would consider a bit of an anarchist,
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
You know, one of the main things I think about. I'm like, what if this shit just collapsed and we started putting together our own societies and shit? You know, we're like, you know, I'm just asking.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Like, you know, it's just, you know, it crosses your mind from now and on. Like you think we could, you know, do what the Amish is doing? You know, it'll make it a little easier to start up on that shit, right?
After. Maybe new concepts of the human are possible after. As far as global capitalism is concerned, it's not a great selling point that it's much easier to imagine the end of the world than the end of capitalism. But the next
Damn, he's actually spitting bars. That was bars. That was bars right there.
world is what accelerationists are trying to imagine. We imagine these futures in sci-fi, a thriving pocket of our cultural imaginary. These are basically versions of the future. Here, there's no more money, everyone's more or less taken care of, everyone on Earth starts getting along and realize that we are stronger together. There's this utopian post-scarcity economy and something like a benevolent world government that runs the Earth. This is the end goal of humanism in terms of
benevolent.
Of human progress. Then there is the dark side of sci-fi, which is more often what we have.
This is low-key, I ain't gonna lie, like, of course I'll be thinking of anime right now, right? This got me thinking about One Piece. I don't know, like, if you know, you know. This got me thinking about One Piece. Every time I hear world government, I'm like, oh.
We have these days. We have cataclysms. Robot takeover.
You feel me, Bobby?
Zombie or viral cataclysm. Environmental cataclysm. Corporatist cataclysm.
Right.
And even monkey cataclysm. In each of these cases...
Monkey cataclysm. Hey, no, he's right. Why you keep doing that?
Humans are reduced to slaves or to their beastly instincts. In any case, the humanists...
You said Sonny be doing that too? Yeah, bro, I love Sonny. That's one of the other reasons I love Sonny. She be making the same connection I do. I was like, man, Sonny be on fire.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Very future has
I remember the first time I saw the little One Piece poster in the back. I think she was doing the interview with H.J. I saw the One Piece poster in the back. I was like, Sonny knows what's up. I like, Sonny knows what's up.
Cancelled. Variants of accelerationism often fall into the second post-humanist or transhumanist futures. There will be some crisis from which capitalism cannot recover. Left acceleration.
Yep. Exactly. And that's one of the main things. Think about with accelerationism. Eventually, this shit is going to be gone, and it's more likely, it's obviously most likely not going to survive once everything collapses. That's why when you see, how many of y'all niggas play Fallout? When you see Fallout, one of the reasons Fallout is actually one of my favorite games is because it's post-apocalyptic. I don't know what it is about post-apocalyptic games. I don't know what it is. I'm like, it's just, I don't know. There's just something about those post-apocalyptic stories and those dystopian stories that just like, they really make you fucking think. You know what I mean? So when I play games like that, like I feel like it's low key like reading a novel. Like I'm like exploring the world, looking at like the lore and shit. Especially Fallout. Fallout has a lot of fucking lore, like a lot of lore. I just love that shit. I'm kind of like, I'm not just an accelerationist to a degree. I'm like, I'm kind of an existentialist too. You know what I mean? Like if y'all don't know what existentialism is, right? We might do an episode on this at some point. I remember one time my sister, she called me an existentialist, and I was like, what are you talking about? And I looked up the definition. It's like a philosophical movement emphasizing individual freedom, radical choice, and personal responsibility. Well, damn.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, something like that. But it's also, you know, you're constantly thinking about these things, right? And how you interface with the world, right? That's just, I can't help it. You know, like HJ was saying earlier, it's hard for me to turn my brain off too. And a lot of the time when my brain is on, this is the type of shit I be thinking about.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Like just like life and how all these different things actually interact with the rest of the world. like how we can like maintain a balance between these things.
For example, embraces this collapse with a return to new intentional communities, maybe. Think of...
That's me. That's me right there. That's me right there. That's me all day. You heard that?
From which capitalism cannot recover. Left accelerationism, for example, embraces this collapse with a return to new intentional communities, maybe.
Now, like, I don't necessarily think that that's left. We probably disagree on like the left and the right shit anyway, right? Like, I'm not
gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it. I'm
not gonna give you like a political sphere or anything, you know what I mean? Like, if anything, my shit be like a political pyramid, you know what I mean? But yeah, I don't do the whole left right thing. But yeah, no, what he said, like that low key describes me, even though he says it's like left, right? You heard what he said?
There will be some crisis from which capitalism cannot recover. Left accelerationism, for example, embraces this collapse with a return to new intentional communities. Maybe.
A return to new intentional communities? Like, is that left? Like, I'm just like, huh? I just don't. That just.
Hey, come here. Look at this. This nigga must be crazy.
That just doesn't sound left to me. You know what I mean? I don't know. But that's what I don't really subscribe to the whole left and right thing anyway, so.
Maybe. Think of communes or groups of people that share resources and use something like Bitcoin or blockchain in an enclave outside of a state. Think of a social media site run not by an advertising corporation, but by a community of like mind.
Again, this is what I'm saying, like, as essentially what would be an anarchist, like, this is not exclusive to the left.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
It's not exclusive to the left. It's not exactly ANCAP, but you know, doesn't necessarily have to be left.
You can think of direct democracy, where you can vote with your phone. Most visions of the future for accelerationists sort of look at the tools we have already and how they could be used post-cataclysm. Right accelerationism is more on the side of a neo-feudalism, enslavement at the hands of corporate.
Neo-feudal, yo, I don't. This is why I don't subscribe to the left and right thing, because like he just kind of went out in the left field, ironically enough. Like he went to right and then he went in the left field. Like neo-feudalism, like no, to be honest, I'm not. I'm not necessarily against feudalism, you know what I mean?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I don't think feudalism is the worst thing in the world, at least the way it used to exist.
Corporations, or by the AI that they unintentionally unleash in an
technically feudalism could just be born from a normal like family structure.
Event called the singularity. Unprecedented inequality,
like most tribes kind of operate under some kind of feudalist or communal system,
will result. Imagine what hyper-rich corporate CEOs would do with cloning or gene splicing to improve their bodies or minds.
How is that
they
right?
Can afford. It's a brave new world. You can think of Altered Carbon, Blade Runner, or The Island. Otherwise, imagine AIs which would decide they would like to use humans for something else than what humans.
How is this right? Yeah, this is kind of BS. Like I don't know what you're talking about.
Want to be used for. Think of The Matrix. So here's a caveat.
Yeah.
Capitalism is here used in the broadest sense of the term. It's not simply a method of market organization, but a politics.
Right.
Maybe neoliberalism that comes with a psychology that shapes and forms your conception of human agency. And even the meaning of the human as a territory. Accelerationists are just kind of...
Wait, what?
...of human agency. And even the meaning of the human as a territory.
What the hell is that name?
Territory. Accelerationists are just kind of over it. We can't hold out for a redistribution of labor in neoliberal welfare states. And we shouldn't be hoping that anything is ever really going to change. Our malign ill...
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. That's kind of where I... Not necessarily we shouldn't be hoping, but I ain't got that much hope left.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I ain't got that much hope left. What's up, Alchemist? We need to somebody send me a raw. Somebody send me a raw JPG or PNG of that Men of Order symbol, so we can add like a black one over here, so this we can see that goddamn symbol. Goddamn.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I hate that it just be showing like white, bothering the fuck out of me.
Illness is far too advanced in stage to be treated, but it may be forced to evolve into something else. Maybe. Self-identified accelerationists tend to argue that their methods are more realistic than their contemporary leftist counterparts, half of whom are caught up in petty debates with neoliberals, and the other half are stuck contemplating
That'd be nice too.
overly humanist notions such as labor, individual agency, and political organization. So let's get to a few of the credos of accelerationism. According to this left accelerationist manifesto, 30 years of neoliberalism have rendered most...
So this is the left accelerationist manifesto. Again, I would consider myself to be essentially like an accelerationist to some degree, but I ain't never sat down and read no goddamn manifesto.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Not doing it. Not doing it. Sorry.
To this left accelerationist manifesto,
I might. I don't know.
30 years of neoliberalism have rendered most left-leaning political parties bereft of radical thought, hollowed out, and without a popular mandate.
Okay.
Furthermore, the habitual tactics of marching, holding signs, and establishing temporary autonomous zones risk becoming comforting substitutes for effective success. So what is the
ultimate
goal?
Yeah, that's true. I'd have to agree with that.
This is kind of unclear. It's less defined by the nation states and representative democracies that we're used to, and seeks some sort of activation of forces and technology outside neoliberal democratic control. Think of blockchain, for example, Bitcoin. It's about a new future that's not controlled by these states, a future that is more...
Even though I feel like ultimately it's going to end up that way.
More modern, an alternative modernity that neoliberalism is inherently unable to generate.
Basically,
it's fair to say it has much more anarchic tendencies than the status quo.
Yes. Exactly.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
In terms of realizing this future. Now, as I said, there are both left and right-leaning variants of accelerationism.
So is this why he said that left was one thing and right was one thing? Is there like a manifesto for right accelerationism too? Because if that's where he's pulling it from, then I guess I understand why he did that.
Right accelerationism is often criticized. The figurehead is the controversial Nick Land. It doesn't make that much sense to call him right-wing as we might on a traditional political...
Yeah, exactly. Okay. At least he admitted, okay. I appreciate him saying that. I appreciate that. All right.
Map. Yet right is his label because he explicitly declares that democratic institutions will become outdated by something like...
Yeah, but I don't know if that means he's right. Again, like even when we referred to the other one, it was more anarchistic. So it's like, is that inherently left? Like, I don't think so.
Like
I don't think being anti-statist is left or right. It's just anti-authoritarian.
Neo-feudalism or hyper-corporatism, in which elites will achieve the capacity to technologically augment their
This is why I said I'm like more of like a political pyramid.
bodies or alter their genomes. He also flirts with eugenics and thinks fascism is an inevitable outcome because it gets things done. Nick Land's accelerationism sees these post-political enclaves as an inevitability that will define the future of humanity. Many others point out these fascistic overtones of these proclamations, but as far as...
hold on, that's a good point, right?
Accelerationism sees these post-political enclaves as an inevitability that will define the future of humanity.
Yeah. I think that this is true.
Many others point out these fascistic overtones of these proclamations, but as far as I read him, it just seems like he's more describing what he thinks is an inevitable outcome. And then debating the morality or even desirability of a future of transhuman domination is not going to prevent them from emerging. Accelerationism is simply the self-aware...
That's probably what I say I believe, right? I don't think just, warning people about it, making media about it, we got to watch out for this. Like, ultimately, I don't think that's going to stop it from happening. I think the best we can do is kind of prepare for it. I don't want to speak for him or anything, but I think to a certain degree, me and Goldstein might be in agreement on that.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I think I might have heard him express something similar at one point. Yeah, accelerationism, simply the self-awareness of capitalism.
Awareness of capitalism, which has scarcely begun. We haven't seen anything yet. As blockchains, drone logistics, nanotechnology, quantum computing, computational genomics, and virtual reality flood in, drenched in ever higher densities of artificial intelligence, accelerationism won't be going anywhere. Basically,
yeah. I think I would probably agree with that.
For Land, this world is already here, although only in shards for the time being, and we have
True.
have no idea what the full mosaic will look like. By the time we do see it, it's not going to care about what egalitarian or leftist critiques are wringing our hands about. Lands
That's true. That's true.
is a dark cyberpunk sort of future, with both its breadth of its fears and its dreams of transcending human limitations. It has a correlate of sorts in the society we see in Blade Runner. You are left with a neo-feudalism of hyper-rich transhuman overlords, but for some, it represents a post-human and transhuman future, as well as a new evolutionary stage of life, one in which
especially the transhumanists.
humans are not center stage, and perhaps they have no role at all. Humans might only be a springboard for a new superintelligence to jump out into the universe.
Yeah, a lot of people do believe that. Yeah.
Super space AI, the kind that uses stars as engines.
I think that's post-humanism.
I don't know, perhaps that's something to look forward to, at least for some people. Let's swing the other way and look at left accelerationism. Left accelerationists are not ready to abandon traditional leftist emphases, namely liberatory or emancipatory politics. By a broad
Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. They might be right to some degree.
enough definition, even Marx expresses some accelerationist tendencies. You know that the cycle of crisis.
Oh yeah, he definitely does. That's why I could see why people say what they say, right? Ultimately, like what he laid out in the Communist Manifesto could be interpreted as a somewhat of an accelerationist framework.
This crisis will eventually reach a point where contradictions can't be co-opted anymore by the capitalist system. There's a chance that the end of capitalism corresponds to a more equitable world. This usually has something to do with new technological advancement. Think of the popular uprisings and movements facilitated by social media, for example. Left accelerationists see potential here. Maybe social technologies like these can be used to create communities or enclaves of some sort, independent from the regular.
You just need the video? I can drop a link here. This is a good. Actually, I'm probably going to. I ain't gonna lie. We might give him a subscribe. Because I do like the way he broke it down here, and he looks like he has some other videos we might review later.
Their flows of capital and the political status quo of neoliberal nation states. Rather than working to smash the current capitalist system, the existing infrastructure is here identified as a platform requiring repurposing towards post-capitalist collective ends. Technology, from this standpoint, is enslaved to myopic capitalist purposes, with the wager
You said the Soros types are the left acceleration? I think to some degree, yeah. I think to some degree that's accurate, yeah. Especially, George Soros himself, probably an accelerationist. He's probably one of those rich people who's kind of pushing that stuff.
Post-capitalist collective ends. Technology, from this standpoint, is enslaved to myopic capitalist purposes, with the wager being that the real transformative potentials of much scientific and technical research remain untapped.
That's true.
These pre-adaptations may become decisive, but only socio-political action is capable of activating them, meaning that technological change alone will remain entirely insufficient to radically alter our world.
That's true as well. Yeah.
To me, this seems
but it's
like
also
an
kind of obvious.
Increasingly difficult position to maintain, at least as something that could become the status of a movement. Left accelerationists may attribute this to my own lack of imagination, but it does not take a lot of imagination to consider that the tools sponsored by Silicon Valley investment capital, digital state surveillance, and online filter bubbles could suddenly emerge into a techno-anarchic liberation.
Right. Yeah. Very unlikely.
For these reasons, it's often claimed that left accelerationism is a dead end. There is some potentially fruitful theoretical ground here. Nick Land, unsurprisingly, is not a fan of left accelerationism. Land writes, left accelerationism appears to have deconstructed itself back into traditional socialist politics.
That makes sense.
The accelerationist torch has passed to a new generation of brilliant young thinkers, activating what is called an unconditional accelerationism. This unconditional accelerationism means you're sort of in the middle of these two positions. So let me.
Yeah, I'm probably somewhere.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
That's probably somewhere where I am. Yeah.
We conclude
Yeah.
by saying that accelerationism of every brand seems to service this somewhat resigned perspective on the world and what it's becoming. Perhaps there is liberatory potential there, if not for humans, then for post-humans, or maybe even something past that. There is a brave new world on the horizon. Whether that world has a place
Yes,
for
there
us
is.
as humans does remain to be seen.
You know what? Shout out to Plastic Pill. Shout out to Plastic Pill. Didn't he break that down pretty well? I think I understand a little bit more about accelerationism than I did before. You know what I mean?
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Hopefully you guys got something out of that. Some of those other ideas he mentioned, you know, that we mentioned earlier: humanism, post-humanism, transhumanism, anti-humanism. We're gonna break those down at one point. Maybe we'll do that after Confucianism. Yeah, it's a very interesting breakdown. I think he did a good job. There was another video I wanted to check out. I'm kind of in between because I don't want it to leak too much into our analysis. But I feel like it's worth watching. You know what? Maybe we can check it out another time. We'll check it out another time. We can check it out on another episode. We can check it out next week or later this week. But I do want to get to our analysis, right? So our next video is
So going back to Acts,
Christian
the ascension happens, and before the ascension,
Zionist versus Christian anti-Zionist, right? For this episode of the Ism, this is going to be our main subject: Zionism. Look, Bobby. Look, Bobby. I wasn't gonna say nothing, okay? I wasn't gonna say nothing, but she damn sure is not wearing a bra.
Somebody's
Okay?
gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
She is not wearing a bra. He is not wearing a bra. Oh wait, no, y'all know what's funny? Actually, I'll show y'all that next Monday. I will show y'all that next Monday. This shit funny as hell. Actually, here, hold on. I want to do this real quick. Just to be safe. You know what YouTube popped up with on my feed yesterday? She got some good little debates on here, man. She got some good debates on here. You know what I'm saying? She took the Jubilee grift and just she just tricked that shit the fuck out. Hold up, man. Yeah, she did. We gonna watch this one later too. 1 atheist versus 20 Christian women. Oh yeah, we gonna check that shit out. We gotta. Like I said, we might even. I don't even know. Like that Glenn Greenwald one looks interesting, but like she just got better topics on her shit.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Like her, the way she be doing it, I'm like, damn, okay, I see you. No, you know what? Hold up, maybe it'll be in my history. Hold up. Yesterday, YouTube they put this shit in my fucking feed. They put the craziest shit in my fucking feed yesterday. I don't know why this shit popped up in my feed. My algorithm is crazy. You see this shit? Just hold up. Like, hold up. You see the title of this video? You see the title of this video? Y'all see the title of this video? How to pronounce nigga. They put this shit on my feed. They put this shit on my feed. I'm like, what the fuck you putting this shit on my feed for, nigga? I know how to pronounce nigga.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I was like, what the fuck? And I'm kid you not. We're gonna have to check out this shit another time. But I'm gonna show y'all some of the comments on that video one day. That shit is fucking hilarious. I just wanted to tell y'all because that shit was on my mind. That shit cracks me the fuck up. I was like, yo, what the fuck is up with YouTube's algorithm? Like, giving to me, hey, we think maybe you need some help learning how to pronounce the word nigga. Like, nigga, what?
What the fuck?
Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled program.
So going back to Acts, the ascension happens, and before the ascension,
All right.
the disciples.
So they gonna go through the Bible on this one, all right? They getting into the Bible on this one. Hopefully we can finish this all in one. Hopefully.
The East plays a role in the end times and the time to come and the second coming of the Messiah. You can't divorce that of Scripture. That is all throughout Scripture.
Welcome to
I'm gonna try not to be looking up scriptures and shit. Again, this is mainly a logical analysis, so we're gonna be examining their argumentation. It's not necessarily about the facts and the claims that they're making. Well, the facts are important more for when it's like false premise and whatnot. But we are examining argumentation, right? And we are going to be pointing out fallacies. It's going to be strict as it can be, without taking too fucking long. We need to examine the argumentation, like, it's Zionist versus anti-Zionist, but they're both Christian. So ultimately, we're going to have to see what their reasoning is. And one of the important things is going to be, what does the Bible say? They're Christians, right? This is how they are informed on what they should believe and essentially what they should and shouldn't do, especially in regards to things like Zion and the Jews, right? So it's going to be very important. They're going to have to dig into that Bible on this one.
Dr. Daff Show. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Daff.
Shout out to Dr. Dav. Look at her. Look at that queen right there.
And today I'm here with Christian Zionist and Christian anti-Zionist, and we're going to have a conversation.
Hi, I'm Lisa, and I am a Christian anti-Zionist woman.
Hi, I'm Jillian, and I am an anti-Zionist Torah observant Christian.
Hi, I'm Morgan Ariel, and I am a Christian anti-Zionist Christian cultural commentator.
Hi, I'm Hannah, and I'm a Christian anti-Zionist.
Hi, I'm Dominique. I am a Christian Zionist.
Hi, I'm
Eliana, and I'm a Christian Zionist, Catholic Zionist. Hi, I'm Eden, and I am
Catholic Zionist. He said she changed it. She's like, oh, Catholic Zionist. She said she didn't talk to you. Oh, damn. You said Christianity was a pagan religion? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Look, technically the word pagan was created by a Christian, but they usually use it to refer to other polytheistic religions. And I mean, you've seen some of people's takes on whether Christianity is really monotheistic or not. I mean, might be a little more similar to some of those polytheistic religions, and some people might say,
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I mean, I'm just saying, you basically got three gods, but you're like, oh, well, they all the same. Like, I mean, well, a lot of other belief systems claim the same thing. It's just, the God just have different forms, but y'all still call them polytheistic, and y'all, so, I mean, no true Scotsman?
I'm an evangelical Christian Zionist.
Hi, I'm Maddie, and I'm a Catholic Zionist political commentator.
Welcome, ladies. Before we begin, I would like to hear from one person from each side.
I love this one too. Like, it's all ladies. Shout out to the ladies. That means this also might be insufferable, but you never know.
Can you please define Christian Zionism?
There we go. Thank you. We're getting to definitions first. Very important.
Anyone can jump in there.
There's actually two different definitions. First, we
Is
have the fact that...
So let's confirm her definition real quick on Christian Zionism definition. All right, let's see what she says and then see if it lines up with what the Google demons say, or even the other sources.
Jews have a biblical right to the land, and the second definition we have is that Jews have a divine right to the land or a natural right to the land. So essentially a biblical right or a natural right.
And when you say the land, you're referring to?
The land of Israel.
Okay. Anyone on
Biblical right or natural right? I mean, I guess those are two different philosophical roots. Like one is based in, I guess you could say, biblical theology or whatever, or Christian theology, and the other is based more on just natural rights, something like that.
on the side wanted?
Belief in a sovereign Jewish nation state of Israel. They believe that the Jews are to be brought to the Holy Land, and that is the prerequisite for the coming of the Messiah.
And the first
Oh, wait, hold on. I want to hear her
on the side
definition.
wanted?
Belief in a sovereign Jewish nation state of Israel.
Belief in a sovereign nation state of Israel. Okay, that's a typical definition that most people are going to know.
They believe that the Jews
Thank
are
you for
to
the
be
follow,
brought to
J.
the Holy
Pimpy.
Land, and that is the prerequisite
Kind of a dope name.
for the coming of the Messiah.
And the first prompt is, the state of Israel today.
Wait, hold on. What was the last half of that?
Sovereign Jewish nation state of Israel. They believe that the Jews are to be brought to the Holy Land, and that is
They believe that they are to be brought to the Holy Land,
the prerequisite for the coming of the Messiah.
And the first
and that'll be the prerequisite for the coming of the Messiah. Okay.
prompt is,
So they already have two different definitions. Now let's see what the definition is when we look it up. And we might have even done this on our last episode because we did touch on Zionism a bit there when we looked at our greatest ally versus 20 Palestine supporters. Yeah, everybody has a different take. You say, what's my stance on the Bible? My stance on the Bible is probably the same as Shaka's. I was actually talking about this the other day. It's just like, I mean, it's kind of stepped on.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
So I wouldn't even start with the Bible. Like I was about to start reading the Bible through again a couple years ago, and I was going to start by trying to get some understanding of Hebrew and like reading the original text, or at least like starting with just the Torah, and using a book. Yeah, Step Don't Work. Exactly. Yeah. I was gonna use what was I gonna do? Oh yeah. You know how they have the copies of the Bible with I forget what it is, like the commentary from different priests and church fathers and whatnot. I was gonna start reading one of those so that it would have the context and what the church says about certain stuff, whatever, at the same time. And I think I was watching one of Shaka's streams. He was like breaking down some of the shit, and I was just like, you know what? I would rather just look at some of these papyri,
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I need to dig into some of these papyri. Like I've been looking at the goddamn Bible since I was a kid. I was raised on that shit.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
But fuck that shit. I had enough of that shit. Tired of that shit. That's why I ain't a fucking Christian. I don't even believe that shit. Like I might agree with some of the stuff they saying. I understand what they're hinting to and stuff like that. But I don't believe that shit, nigga. I don't believe that shit.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I still question whether the nigga Jesus even existed. I damn sure do not believe that nigga resurrected. Sorry. He's like, it's just and just a lot of the bullshit around it. Like I don't believe the story. Right? I might like AJ was talking about, the existence of God and stuff earlier, or whatever. It's like I might believe in God, but my concept of God is totally different than what a lot of them would even think. So I would call myself more of a deist. I don't know if you know what a deist is, right? It's just basically like you believe in a creator or some kind of like higher entity or whatever, but you don't like kind of assert to really know much about it or how it operates or anything. Because as far as I'm concerned, God is not something that we as human beings are fully able to comprehend, right? If there is a being that is on because I believe there are obviously different dimensions of reality. a being that operates on a completely different dimension or higher dimension than we do. Even if we're a part of it to a certain degree, we're never going to fully understand it. So I can say that I do believe that it exists. I'd like to believe that it exists, but I can't act as if I know that much about it, or that these fucking texts that these random motherfuckers wrote are all like accurate or whatever. And if I do, appeal to anything, it's probably going to be some of the older stuff and shit that's not stepped on.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I mean, yeah, that's basically it. Sorry, I'm a little long-winded.
The state of Israel today is a
what's that word again? What is it? The word that means like long-winded?
fulfillment of biblical prophecy. Okay.
So, wait, hold on. The state of Israel today is a fulfillment of biblical prophecy. Okay, so that's going to be the first. That's going to be the first claim that they go back and forth about. All right, now let's look at the definition here. Now, the first lady said, biblical right to the land of Israel, or a natural right to the land of Israel. Those were her definitions for Zionism, or Christian Zionism. And then the other ladies was the idea that, a state, they should have a state, they should be moved there, and this would be the catalyst for the second coming of Jesus, right? So the AI, Google demons, they tell us first, it's a theological and political movement wherein Christians support the restoration and protection of the Jewish people in their ancestral homeland. This support is deeply rooted in biblical scripture and often includes the belief that the gathering of Jewish people in Israel is a necessary precursor to the second coming of Jesus Christ. Now, one of the reasons I actually did decide to do this adjacent to looking at accelerationism is because I can't remember who said it earlier. Was it Josh? Was it Bobby? Was one of y'all? One of y'all said it sounds like what they doing over in Gaza. Well, you are correct.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
You are correct. It is technically a form of accelerationism. You could call it Christian accelerationism or something like that, right? They Jehovah's Witnesses. Oh shit, that's crazy. Oh man. But yeah, this is you could say that this is kind of an acceleration form of Zionism or whatever. Zionism is kind of like an accelerationist view of Christianity, right? Where they're trying to move the Jews to Israel in order to bring about the second coming of Jesus, or they believe that they're supposed to, something like that. Now, I don't see another definition here, but just to be fair, because they both gave two different definitions, let's try to look for another one. Oh shit, I didn't do that. Let's try to look for another definition of Christian Zionism, just so we can see if the other woman's definition is supported somewhere. Let's see. Let's go to Britannica. Britannica is usually pretty good. Theological and political Christian movement that supports the return of the Jewish diaspora to a Jewish homeland in Palestine based on the readings of biblical texts that consider that region a sacred land promised to the Jews by God. A major impetus behind the movement is the belief that Jews return, or the Jews return, will lead to the second coming of Jesus. Christian Zionists also believe that by blessing and supporting Israel, considered both as the collective Jewish people and the modern state, they themselves will be blessed by God. Early Christian Zionists from the 16th and 19th centuries supported the return of Jews to Palestine primarily for reasons of eschatology. This is, hold on. Eschatology, if you don't know what eschatology is here, just get a short definition. The doctrine of last things. That's not a good explanation. Here it is. Originally a Western term, referring to the Jewish, Christian, and Muslim beliefs about the end of history, the resurrection of the dead, the last judgment, and the messianic era, and the problems of theodicy, vindication of God's justice, right? Like basically like end times, right? Like the end times, the last judgment. Like I said, it was primarily for reasons of eschatology. So like kind of like, again, like I said, and gaining divine benediction. No, I don't even know what the fuck. I don't even remember what benediction means. Hold on. Benediction, the invocation of a blessing. Okay, divine blessing. Why didn't they just fucking say blessing then? See, that's why I hate this shit. They just be using words for no reason. Like, it's like you could have just used the easier, the simpler word that everybody knows. Like, instead of gaining divine benediction. Like, nigga, what the fuck?
What? What the fuck?
But yeah, it was primarily for, you know, blessings and eschatology, like the end times, bringing about the end times, that whole thing, right? Whatever, right? Bringing about the second coming of Jesus and all that. So it's generally the same definition. The other lady's definition, I would say, was so basically they kind of had the same definition if you think about it. One lady was like biblical right or natural right to the land, right? Which is actually a pretty good explanation because not everybody is necessarily motivated by biblical reasoning. That is a Christian or that is a Zionist. But because we're talking about Christian Zionism, I don't know if we can just say natural right or whatever, unless we're connecting natural right to the biblical right, right? And then like the other lady says, you know, in favor of the state of Israel and all this stuff to bring about, you know, the second coming of Jesus or whatever. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but that's where the idea of the biblical right comes from, right?
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
There is a way to kind of square those two definitions. But let's see what they say about the state of Israel today fulfilling biblical prophecy. Because this is probably the main contention, right?
Israel today is a fulfillment of biblical prophecy. Okay, anyone can take it away.
You know, as a Christian who does observe Torah, there is a level of, you know, really studying Old Covenant versus New Covenant. And so I take that very seriously, especially with my platform. And so when you...
Old Covenant versus New Covenant? Hold on, let me speed this up a little bit. Yeah, okay, so if you don't know what that is, I don't know if she's going to explain it. The idea of the Old Covenant versus the New Covenant is basically the idea that, you know, God had a different covenant or whatever with the Jews in the Old Testament. And that there was a new covenant essentially brokered when Jesus came about and gave the law or whatever the fuck. I'm not a Christian any longer. And I don't pretend to be an expert on any of this. So, you know, you can go look it up, confirm for yourself. But yeah, that's in short, that's essentially what it is.
When you think about how the state of Israel today exists, I would not say that it is a fulfillment of biblical prophecy because the state of...
Wait, wow, why are you going to be quiet? You don't have to be quiet, Josh. What you want to say?
Of Israel has completely forsaken their covenant with God.
Anyone want to respond to that?
Yeah, well, I'd like to...
Wait.
Israel, I would not say that it is a fulfillment of biblical prophecy because the state of Israel has completely forsaken their covenant with God.
The state of Israel has completely forsaken their covenant with God. Okay. Let's look this up. Does the Bible, because this is my question here. Does Zionism in the Bible, or whether or not the Jews have to make a return to their homeland or whatever in order to bring about the second coming of Christ, say anything about them breaking or not breaking the covenant? Or does it just say that that's going to happen? Because I also remember some parts of this being that, like, you know, some of these people wouldn't even be who they claim they are. I'm just saying.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna
It didn't
tell it.
necessarily say that. It didn't necessarily. I don't think, at least not from what I remember, that it mattered whether or not they broke a covenant. It just said like, this is what's gonna happen. The Father Jesus talks about isn't the same God in the Old Testament. A lot of people do say that, Josh. A lot of people do say that. Yeah. Yeah. And if you read like my New Zealand friend T in the server, we're gonna try to get her to start helping out with some of this stuff. In our server though, our New Zealand friend T has just got herself a Bible and she's been reading through that. You know, it's just, I told her it was shocking shit. I was like, you just reading some stepped on shit, but like, oh, go ahead, you can do that. But I was explaining something like that to her the other day, right? But let's see, does the Bible, like, and that's one of the other things she be saying, like the Bible or the God in the Old Testament or the Old Testament is spicy. Like there's a lot of shit to go. The God in the Old Testament seems like completely different than the God in the New Testament. Does the Bible say anything about the chosen people breaking covenant? I don't know. What's the best way to ask this? Does the Bible say anything about the chosen people breaking the covenant mattering to bring about the end times? I don't know. I'm just trying to do this quickly. There's something I need to check here. I just want to make sure, because it doesn't seem like it doesn't even necessarily matters. The Bible does not teach that the chosen people breaking the covenant causes the end times. Instead, Scripture frames their unfaithfulness as a tragedy that brings immediate consequences like exile, while God's ultimate faithfulness and their eventual restoration are central to his end times plan. So their unfaithfulness as a tragedy that brings immediate consequences like exile, while God's ultimate faithfulness and their eventual restoration are central to his end times. So it kind of sounds like God expects that, and he expects them to come back. But it doesn't, I don't think it means that like when they go back to Israel, they haven't broken the covenant. It just means that like at some point they're going to make their way back to following the covenant. I don't know, something like that. It's just like, I'm just trying to make sense of this myself. All right. Let's see what the other person has to say in response.
I want to respond to that.
Yeah, well, I'd like to start with the fact that the covenant was made to God with God. We see when he makes the covenant in, I think it was Genesis 15. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's long, but essentially he makes a covenant with Abraham, who is asleep. So he makes it with himself. God cannot break the covenant. So as we see, passes through the parts, and Abraham.
Wait, hold on. One more time. I need to hear that again.
Genesis 15. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's long, but essentially he makes a covenant with Abraham, who is asleep. So he makes it with himself. God cannot break the covenant. So as we see, passes through the parts.
Wait, what? He made a covenant with a nigga in his sleep? Talking to a nigga in his dream or something?
I think it was Genesis 15. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's long, but essentially he makes a covenant with Abraham, who is asleep. So he makes it with himself. God cannot break the covenant. So as we see, passes through the parts, and Abraham's asleep. I don't think a sleep person can consent to a covenant being made.
I mean, that's what I thought. That is what I thought. I ain't gonna lie. But I mean, aren't we technically talking about God here? Like, wouldn't he be able to speak to Abraham in like his subconscious or something? Right? Like even while he's asleep, you can talk to that nigga in his dream, right?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
That, like, if God can't talk to motherfuckers in their dream, then how all powerful is this motherfucker? That's all I'm saying. You know, the machine elves can talk to niggas while they on DMT, but God can't talk to niggas while they in sleep. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, what's going on? It's just, shit don't make no sense. I don't make no fucking sense.
Made. So when you talk about like keeping their end of the deal, well, we see time and time throughout the Bible this narrative of the way that God keeps his covenant to us even though we don't deserve it. And so I find it really strange that we put this on the Jewish people, that they just walked outside the covenant. None of us can earn a covenant. So
I disagree because if you
That's a good response. That's a good response. She said none of us are really following the covenants. None of us are really following the covenants. That's a good point. That's a good point. Although, logically speaking, it doesn't necessarily respond to what she said, right? She said, I mean, it's a response to what she said, but it doesn't really address what she said. She said it's not biblical because they're not following the covenant. Saying that, well, no, none of us follow the covenant or whatever, so why would that matter? It's like it's kind of a tu quoque, right? So if you guys are not familiar with what a tu quoque is, give me 1 second. Instead, okay. This is another thing I wanted to check out here. So before we look at what tu quoque is, this is what I was trying to, this is the answer I was trying to get from the demons earlier, right? The AI demon. The Bible does not state that Israel must be following the covenant before they return to the land. Instead, prophetic texts consistently show God gathering his people while they are still in a state of unfaithfulness and then transforming their hearts after they return.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
That's what I was talking about right there. It doesn't like it didn't follow me. I was like, okay, so just because they're not following the covenant, that means they can't return to the home. Like if they return to the land and then once they get control of their land, they finally have their state and they're back in Israel, they actually return to the covenant. They can follow the covenant because they're all there and they're actually all together, influencing each other, getting back to their roots, right? Because they went back to the motherland, they get back to their roots.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
It might even be required that they gather there, right? Before they even begin to follow the covenant the way they did before. You know what I'm saying?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
That was my problem with that argument. So I don't think that she properly responded to it. Instead, what she did was more of a tu quoque, which is like, apparently it's a form of ad hominem, whatever. I guess technically it is. Claiming the argument is flawed by pointing out that the one making the argument is not acting consistently with the claims of the argument. So that's kind of what she did, right? She's like, well, none of us actually are like, following the covenant or whatever. It doesn't really make sense. She didn't say just her, but she was including her in it, right? Like as a Christian, she's like, well, none of us really do it, right? So she's saying, well, you're not doing that either, right? It's not really addressing her argument. So that's a fallacy, right? Unfortunately, we're just gonna have to.
Fallacies.
Now, if she had been able to quote a scripture that explains what they said here, like, I don't know, it says what? The physical guarantee. In Ezekiel 36:24, God says, I will take you out of the nations. I will gather you from all the countries and bring you back into your own land. Ezekiel 36:25, it continues, I will sprinkle clean water on you and you will be clean. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. You see what I'm saying?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna
she
tell
had
it.
quoted this would have been a better response to what she was saying. Yeah, God go by so many different names in the Old Testament. Yeah. Yea, are all gods and children of the Most High.
Further than just Genesis 15, you go to Genesis 17, it clarifies because after Abram, he wasn't even Abraham yet, once Abram was literally blessed by Melchizedek, and that is a fulfillment of biblical prophecy of Jesus in his own, once he presents bread and wine to Abram to bless him for his faith, a fulfillment of biblical prophecy of Jesus in his own.
Sorry, I just wanted to peek at a nipple for a second. My bad,
once he presents bread and wine to
caught that nipple again.
Abram to bless him for his faith and his walking with the Lord. God then clarifies to Abram, before he was even Abraham, that the covenant was conditional. He says, if you walk in my ways and, if you do what I say, I will give you the land. And then he expounds upon what Abraham's seed looks like. This is a fulfillment of biblical prophecy, and it is absolutely incredible to see how Jesus plays into it all in the new covenant.
I can totally.
Okay. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think that was a response to what she just said. Again, she said we all not really following the covenant, whatever. So like, what is that? You said it. She was responding to the part about Abraham being asleep and not necessarily being able to consent to the covenant or whatever. I mean, I guess. Again, I don't think that's a great argument, but kind of true too. But yeah, this is very weird. I don't even think it's like they're not talking to each other. It's like they're talking past each other.
Read into the covenant with Abraham and see the foreshadowing of Christ. So I'm not disagreeing with that whatsoever. I think when we look to the Old Testament, God even promises to bring remnants of Israel back together, even despite the disobedience of Israel. Actually, it's a testament to his everlasting covenant and to.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think this is what she's talking about. Yeah. Here, hold on. I think she's talking about what we just looked at. Oh, hold on. Nigga got the pack. Think it would take it forever. Was it all women on the panel? I don't know. But I kind of like it.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I kind of like it. You know how I am about my eye candy, I ain't mad. I get to look at some titties, nigga.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I'm definitely like, can you guess whose chest I'm staring at the most? Can you guess? Can you guess whose chest I'm staring at the most right now? All right, my bad, y'all. I got a phone call. Got to pick up the. No, oh yeah, no. See, that's the thing. Nah, it's not nipples. Even though I appreciate, it's shawty in the yellow dress. It's something about how that dress lay over. And I am a member of the itty bitty titty committee. You know what I mean?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
We can work with them big and small. We can work with them all sizes. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, come here. Look at this. This nigga must be crazy.
And then shorty on the left right there, with the little, with the sundress on, she got some hangers.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Now, Miss Nipple got some hangers too. But, maybe I'll be looking at her more if I could see more than one nipple. All right, my bad. Yeah, I gotta focus.
That whatsoever. I think when we look to the Old Testament, God even promises to bring remnants of Israel back together, even despite the disobedience of Israel. Actually, it's a testament to his everlasting covenant and to.
Right. You hear what she said? No, I have it sped up, so she's saying it kind of fast.
Disagreeing with that whatsoever. I think when we look to the Old Testament, God even promises to bring remnants of Israel back together, even despite the disobedience of Israel. Actually, it's a.
Yeah, he promises to bring remnants of Israel back together, even despite the disobedience. And what did we read here? I will take you out of the nations. I will gather you from all the countries and bring you back into your own land. Right? I will sprinkle clean water on you and you will be clean. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. Right? That is that's essentially the same thing as what she's saying. You know what I'm saying?
Testament to his everlasting covenant and to his promise with Abraham. So I actually view the disobedience of the Jews and the fact that the state of Israel is still thing today as a fulfillment of that promise, that God constantly brings the Jews.
It's so hard not to fucking look at that nipple line going. Especially when she talking, she like right on the screen. I'm just like, I'm trying to look at her face and my eyes just keep going down. All right, whatever.
Back to him throughout the Old Testament, we see them constantly disobey, and the Lord, in his great mercy for them, not because of their ability to keep that covenant in perfect standing.
Right, exactly.
So going off what you're saying, I just want to know.
Yeah. She's on point. Good job. That's exactly what we just read.
Who here believes the state of Israel today has a biblical right to land?
Is Cannon going live today? Is Cannon doing movie night tonight? We definitely not gonna be done before this.
If you could just give me a raise of hands. Okay. I have a question that I think will tie into what you're probably going to talk about. If you believe the modern state of Israel has a biblical right to the land, how do you reconcile the fact that the borders described in Genesis are much larger than the current state of Israel? Genesis 15:18 says, "To your descendants I give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates."
Yes, we.
Wait, hold on. My bad. I was reading messages and shit. I had to step away for a second. In a minute, but let's run that back real quick.
Here believes the state of Israel today has a biblical right to the land. If you could just give me a raise of hands. Okay. I have a question that I think will tie into what you're probably going to talk about. If you believe the modern state of Israel has a biblical right to the land, how do you reconcile the fact that the borders described in Genesis are much larger than the current state of Israel? Genesis 15:18 says, "To your descendants I give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates."
Now this could be contentious because, like, it says the river of Egypt. So did that mean you're trying to get the Jews to Egypt too? Is that? Because I ain't gonna lie, when the fuck did them niggas get claimed to Egypt? Like, I'm just saying, like, that shit.
What the fuck?
Yes. What?
Yes, we can
But she's right.
actually reconcile it by looking at the rest of the context. So that would be specifically Genesis 19 to 21. We can start out there. In Genesis 19 to 21, actually, God specifies the tribes, the 10 tribes that make up the land of Canaan there. And that is the land that he is referencing. So that is and that is not limitless in when he referred to that. And
what?
Next, we actually have, there's some, I understand that usually sometimes it can be mistakenly identified, the river of Egypt. That is, a lot of people confuse that with the Nile River, but actually.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. What other fucking river are you thinking of when you think of the river of Egypt? Like,
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Niggas ain't thinking about nothing but the Nile River. Like, what river?
Which is in the center of Egypt, but actually that's not so. The river of Egypt that is specifically referred to is actually in the south of Gaza. That empties into the Mediterranean, actually. And
what river is that? The fuck river is in the south of Egypt? I should probably know this one. What was the keybind for that? oh, I remember. The only river in Egypt is the Nile River. So she just completely wrong. She didn't know what the fuck she was talking about. Wait, what river is she talking about? Is there another river? Is there a river besides the Nile River? Am I tripping? I feel like there's not another river in Egypt. Like, if I'm missing something? Even the Google demons ain't giving me nothing. Does Egypt have two rivers? Egypt's most significant river is the Nile River, and the eastern portion of the Egypt also bordered the Euphrates River. Well, okay, but didn't it say the river of Egypt to the, hold up.
Tribes, the 10 tribes, 18 to 20, looking at the rest
of this land, from the river of Egypt.
So the river of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates. It's literally talking about both rivers, nigga. Like, what the fuck? That's because I thought she was talking about the Euphrates, but I'm like, it already said the Euphrates though, so it can't be saying the Euphrates. It's not. Why would it refer to it as the river of Egypt and then call it the Euphrates right after? And what would be the point of saying it twice? Like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. So I don't know what the fuck she's talking about. Again, if there's another river in Egypt, somebody let me know. Oh, am I covering up her face? I think. Oh yeah, I am covering up her face. Well, you know, I'm giving y'all an excuse. You know,
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
You can't see her face. You got nothing else to look at. But
to the great river, the Euphrates.
Yes, we can actually recognize the 10 tribes that make up the land of Canaan there. And that is the land that he is referencing. So that is our, and that is not limitless in when he referred to that. And next, we actually have, there's some, I understand that usually it's, or sometimes it can be mistakenly identified, the river of Egypt. That is, a lot of people confuse that with the Nile River, but actually, which is the center in the
and we just saw like supposedly the only river in Egypt.
Center of Egypt, but actually that's not so. The river of Egypt that is specifically referred to is actually in the south of Gaza. That empties into the Mediterranean actually.
The river of Egypt is in the south of Gaza. So what? Let's see, what river is in the south of Gaza? Let's say in the south of Gaza. She said the south of Gaza. I thought she said the south of Egypt. Let's see. What river is in the south of Gaza? The primary river system in the Gaza Strip is the Wadi Gaza, known as the Nahal Habazor. The fuck? Habazor, the Bizor stream. While it generally divides the northern and central areas from the southern regions of the territory, there are no other major rivers physically located in the far south of Gaza, which is bordered by the Mediterranean Sea and the Sinai Peninsula of Egypt. So they were referring to a river. It says it's bordered by the Mediterranean Sea and the Sinai Peninsula of Egypt. I don't know. Okay, so maybe she's right. Maybe she's right. Maybe she's talking about this Wadi Gaza. Wadi Gaza to the Euphrates.
And so essentially in that verse, Egypt is to be excluded from the border. So again, it's not limitless. That time it's meant.
All right, that's what I thought, nigga.
There. And finally, we can look to 1 Kings 4:24. For he had dominion over all the region west of the Euphrates, from Tiphsah to Gaza, over all the kings west of the Euphrates, and he had peace on all sides. So in that way, that can similarly be reconciled to the borders. Again, borders have changed over time, but it is similar.
So I think it's very interesting because we're given this layout, right? Israel has never had all of that land. Now, in parts, in different areas, different times.
I don't know if that's true.
In history, but never the full land. So to me, it seems like either God is a liar and this is not going to happen, or it's going to happen one day.
Okay.
And
I mean, it is a prophecy.
I don't know.
I'd like to interject on that. So actually, you know, they came out of Egypt, they were in captivity, and then they also were in Babylonian captivity and they were let out. But in Joshua,
allegedly, let's just allegedly.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
I don't believe that whole, oh, they were in captivity in Egypt. I don't believe that.
Joshua 21:43, they actually did possess all the land, and God said they did. And the Lord gave unto Israel all the land which he swore to give unto their fathers. And they possessed it, and they dwelt therein. And the Lord gave them rest round about according to all.
I mean, I guess you are using the Bible. They're all Christians, so I get like, there's a presupposition that we're basing all of this on, which is that, like, you know, the Bible is true. The presupposition here is that the Bible is true. Right? They all have to kind of accept that the Bible is true or whatever. And what they're really debating over is kind of like interpretations.
All they swore unto their fathers. And there stood not a man of all their enemies before them. The Lord delivered all of their enemies into their hand. I think somebody else here actually already quoted 1 Kings 4. Was it one of you guys did? Yeah, you did. So that's more Solomon, right? He had control over the entire kingdom. And then also we see in Nehemiah 9:8, there was a prayer about all of this. So they've already inhabited the land. So it's not that the prophecy hasn't been fulfilled. The prophecy has already been fulfilled. And now we're under a new.
Make sure y'all get your flow pegs. You know what I'm saying? Get your flow pegs. Mainly your flow. You know, make sure you stay on point. Like these ladies here. You know what I'm saying? It's shawty here. She killing it. She's on point. Like, nigga, so it looks like they own the land. So what the fuck are you talking about?
New covenant with Christ. And now we have that covenant where it is fulfilled through Christ to all of the nations.
I think we have to be very clear about what we mean by fulfilled. Fulfilled is not the same thing as finished. And looking at things from the Catholic perspective, the Second Vatican actually addresses this quite concisely, stating that God did not repent his gifts and that replacement theology
What?
is not the official teaching of the church.
Well, if we're going to get into
replacement theology, all right, well, hold on. We might have to. Is that the replacement of the covenant or the new covenant being established? Is that what they call it? Replace what the fuck? MLB. Anyway, replacement theology. Also known as supersessionism, is a Christian doctrine claiming that the church has replaced or superseded national Israel as God's chosen people. It asserts that the promises made to Israel in the Hebrew Bible are now spiritually fulfilled in the Christian church, and the Mosaic covenant is terminated. Oh yeah. So the idea is like that we're all his chosen people now, or something like that, right? And that like Israel or New Israel, whatever, isn't just like the Jews or something like that. Yeah, basically just the difference between like belief in the old covenant and the new covenant, like and.
theology. I think that that's actually a derogatory term that's used to dispel people who don't hold a belief that was only created in the 1800s moving forward. The original church fathers, basically up until the 1800s, pretty much held these belief systems. So, and now.
Well, yeah, duh.
Was ruled against.
Not all of them, though. I mean, and again, when you say that, you say church fathers, because specifically it was like people who were like a lot of people who were at these councils who even put together the texts. But even when they were going through that, there were people with radically different views, which is one of the main reasons they even had to do the council.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
So the idea that this like wasn't something that was already like in contention, I wouldn't. We're gonna have to take points off for that.
Ruled against by who?
In the Vatican.
And
in
the Vatican
1965.
has authority over everybody. I disagree.
That's exactly. Like what are you saying?
About it is derogatory.
Because it's not replacement theology, it's fulfillment. It's a fulfillment theology.
Yes, but what is fulfillment?
I mean, yeah, but I mean, I guess he's just offended by the saying replacement, but ultimately you're using the word replacement because you are essentially replacing an old covenant with the new covenant. That's why it's called that.
Fulfillment is not the same as finished. So your ideology of
fulfillment is not the same as finish. I mean, that's true, but I'm going to need a little bit more of an argument. Like, I'm going to need you to break that down more before I accept whatever you're about to say.
Church coming in and replacing the promise to the Jewish people, which God himself does not do throughout any point in this Bible. I'm just confused on, is it derogatory or can you just not defend it?
No, it's absolutely criminalizing the stance.
Yeah. Hey, yo, that was a singer. Is it derogatory or can you just not defend it? Like, damn. She came in, she's talking heavy.
That the Bible has always taught on, because if you truly believe that that is not in the Bible, that it's meant for, the branch of the vine. Have you heard those? Like, I'm sure you have. Everyone who has read, that's Jesus. And that comes from Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, etc. They are all prophesying Jesus and where we will be.
The branch stems from the
saying
roots.
that we take out the root of the Jewish. Salvation is from the Jews.
Hold up. Salvation is from the Jews. I mean, technically, your Savior is a Jew.
Or can you just not defend it?
No, it's absolutely criminalizing the stance that the Bible has always taught on, because if you truly believe that that is not in the Bible, that it's meant for, the branch of the vine. Have you ever heard those? Like, I'm sure you have. Everyone who has read, that's Jesus. And that comes from Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, etc. They are all prophesying Jesus and where we will be.
The branch stems from the
saying
roots.
that we take out the root.
That's what people say, but I mean, again, not everybody agrees.
Of the Jewish. Salvation is from the Jews. And saying we uproot that is not what Paul says. Paul was a Jew himself, a scholar.
Well, the thing is that the Jews, the Jews as a people, I'm talking about the Jews as, or not even the Jews, I'm talking about the nation. This is Zionism we're talking about. We're talking about
that is true. But you can't really separate the Jews and Zionism.
Somebody's gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Zionism is based on the Jews, like
the nation. But if you really want to get on the nitty gritty of what Jewish people believe, it's literally like it completely goes against the character of God.
So tell us about it. Tell us about what do Jewish people believe?
They believe that Jesus is burning in hell in his own excrement.
Okay, let me tell you.
Well, I mean,
Let me tell you about this. I wanted you to bring this up.
I didn't talk about this with y'all before. Damn, we only got 11 minutes into this thing. Well, you know, what I was gonna say is, I think we're gonna do a couple more, depending on how many more this takes us. It's gonna take us at least one more episode. We're gonna do at least one more episode, one more special episode of the ism, finishing this one, because this is actually a really good conversation. But it might take a while to finish because, you know, like I said, they're getting into the Bible, and even, you know, when we were looking over some of this stuff, confirming some of this stuff they saying, you know, it gets pretty deep in there. Pause. Tomorrow, the thing is, tomorrow, you know, we got Hotep's Been Told You, Goldstein does his thing, and Cannon, you know, gonna be going live and shit. Like, I don't know if there's no time for me to do this tomorrow.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
That's why I normally don't stream on Thursdays. Unless I, you know, knock it out a little earlier in the day. Yeah, unless I knock it out a little earlier in the day, like, you know, before Goldstein go live with his, you know, his morning stream or something. I don't know. Like, I can maybe do it midday, or maybe like, you know, Friday or something. I'm probably more likely to do it on Friday. I originally wanted to do these on Sunday, right? Because they get into the Bible and shit. I originally wanted to do these on Sunday. You know, a little, you know, Hotep Sunday school. You know what I mean?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
But I think because this, like I said, what better show to do an analysis of an ism debate than on the ism? Right?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Well, I normally do the ism once per month, but I've been trying to think of like little, like, you know, mini ism episodes we could do and shit. It's kind of like what this one was. And I think this is the first one we're gonna do with that one. So we might do it on Sunday. We might do another special episode of the ism on Sunday, or we might just wait till next Wednesday. But I think that yeah, it's a lot going on tomorrow. Yeah. yeah. So if Goldstein didn't stream twice in one day, I would stream a little earlier, you know what I'm saying?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
That nigga Goldstein streamed twice. So there ain't really no room for me. I can still do it. You know, I ain't trying to take, you know, viewership away or nothing. You know, because y'all gonna want to tap into everything. Although if I do, you know, recording always be here. But I'm gonna just do it on a different day. But yeah, we're gonna continue this. We're gonna continue this in another episode. Let's get through this next part here. Next couple responses here, and then we're gonna wrap it up on we all over the cannon.
Of God.
So tell us about it. Actually, tell us about what do Jewish people believe?
They believe that Jesus is burning in hell
All right,
in his own excrement.
Okay, let me tell you about this. I wanted you to bring this up. Yeah, so essentially, in Jewish teaching throughout all of Jewish history, when you're referring to a person, we call them, for example, Jesus is Yeshua bar Joseph, right? Son of Joseph.
Okay.
In this specific part in the Talmud, first of all, Jesus is a common name, but it is not Jesus bar Joseph that they are talking about. It is a common Yehoshua.
Where does that?
It could be Jesus or it could be Joshua.
Where does that authority come from?
Yeah, that is literally the name of the Savior, I think, or the Messiah. That's the name of the Messiah.
That comes from history. That comes from the way that is.
How do you know that?
Consistency with the way that the text is written. We always say.
She said, "How do you know that?" It comes from history. She said, "How do you know that?" Because history is pretty much just what is documented. Like, what the fuck? What kind of question is that?
Name and then the father's name. Okay, that is how it's always been.
Okay, that's clearly not how English is written today.
It wasn't written in English.
Wait a minute, what happened?
Moment right before something important, you're prepared.
Cannon's still getting ready? I was looking at the stream to make sure, like, you know, I wasn't still going when he actually went live, but look, it went down for a second.
You know your material.
Oh, she got her little ad in here.
Today.
It wasn't written in English.
You know that moment.
Hey, yo. That's the worst spot to throw in a fucking ad, bro. What is she doing, bro?
Right before something important, you're prepared.
Bro. Hey, yo, this is the dumbest timing for an ad ever. Yo, she responded and then she just like, ad time. Like, bitch.
What?
What the fuck?
What the fuck?
It's so dumb. Why'd she do that?
Flights, big conversations. The mind built for high response.
Kick Health? What? That look like a decent sponsor, huh? Adrenaline blockers for performing anxiety. Nah, I don't know about that one. That's a nah. I don't know about that one. She the lady that owned the channel. That's Dr. Dav. That's just her, and that's her at home. That is Dr. Dav right there.
Just steadier. It's, for me, it helps.
All right. Yeah, that's her right there. You see her? See her right there? She got the hair all straight and shit. In the ad, she got little afro puffs on the side and shit. She got the straight hair and shit on the show. It's crazy. It's nasty work. It's nasty work. But we gonna wrap it up here because it looks like she about to get him a little something else to argue about. We gonna wrap it up here, and on our next Islam analysis, we gonna finish this up. You know what I'm saying? Thank y'all for joining me. Thank you to my top gifted subbers, Keisha, Diesel, Recoils, Josh, all y'all. Sorry, I can't think of all the names right now. And until next time, I will bid you beautiful people, adwa.